Hi folks, it's John from lastchanceautorestore.com. I'd like to share with you another update. This is the 1932 Ford Coupe Hot Rod. In an earlier video, we had this nicely painted body placed on the frame. This is a special edition red color that we talk so much about. What is it, vermilion red? Yeah, so it's vermilion red, special color with Ford. We talked briefly about the front firewall. It was a bare aluminum plate. Now we've got it set in place. It looks quite nice. We've got this nice black weather stripping acting as a cushion. It required quite a bit of trimming to get it to fit correctly without scrubbing. And then the guys have done a lot of work with the air conditioning lines and fittings and a lot of wiring, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So basically with it's quite a bit nicer, cleaner looking in the front now, in my opinion, because before we just had the engine sitting there. Now we have quite a bit more body work has been done since the last video. So the guys and gal did a lot of work on these fiberglass. Believe it or not, these are fiberglass. So the fiberglass front fenders and the fiberglass surround, and then we have the metal grille. The new shocks, they finally arrived. So the ride height was not correct from previous. So this is an abandoned project that the current client was lucky enough to get this car, and the height wasn't correct and had the wrong shocks. So we now have the correct ride height for the shocks. We now have the headlights reinstalled. These brackets were all just bare metal for the fenders. So we sandblasted them, epoxied them, and then it's the same vermilion red base coat, clear coat paint to match. We originally were thinking about painting them black, but I think with the transition, I think it looks a little bit cleaner having them red to match the fenders. So the fenders and this rad saddle or rad support, it sounds like it's metal, it looks like it's metal. And the guys and gals did such a nice job with the body. There's no evidence that it's fiberglass. You would swear that this is a steel look. Now in the video, we had a couple people said, why did you paint the car orange? If you look just to the left of the camera person, a lot of people will call this pretty Corvette orange. And this is called what, Julie? Venetian red? So that's a Venetian red 57 Corvette. So that's an orangey red of Chevrolet in 57. So I think it might be our camera. This is like a blood red or tomato red. It's a deep, rich red. So I'm not sure if it's our video camera or if it's the monitors when people are viewing it. But this, trust me, this is a really deep red. So it's quite sharp looking. So they've done quite a bit of work with the headlights, the grille, as I mentioned, the fenders. And then we come around this side. Oh, the other thing I forgot to point out, the march system that we've got. So the client has the march, they call it the bat wing style, a lot of polished items on it. This march AC, these two tubes, they were badly corroded. It wasn't really chrome, it was kind of a polished tin. So rather than spending our client's money to replace this piece, I media blasted it and powder coated it. So this powder coating, I was able to get all the rust pits out, and then it has O-rings and stuff which we protected. So you can still see the march. I don't know if it'll show up in the video, but it still has the march insignia stamped in or pressed in the piece. And then we just did the powder coating and then made sure we protected the ends. So once this is hooked up, I don't think anybody's really going to notice that. And it also ties in some of the detail. We're going to do some red accents probably on the valve cover gaskets and on the really nice March air cleaner. And it's the same powder coated red. So it may stand out right now, but it'll be a nice, I think, a nice contrast once we add some red accents with the air cleaner. As we come down around a little bit of the mess here, we come through, I think I'll, if the camera person can look through this side, which is our passenger door, and then I'm just going to come around to the other side through the driver's door. In the earlier video, they had just started running the wiring, and as I mentioned earlier videos, this vehicle changed hands 2 or 3 different times. and there's 2 or 3 different visions or ideas on how to do wiring. None of them, to be blunt, were correct or safe. The routing of the wiring was horrendous. There was a lot of wires that were cut. Some of them were extended for whatever reason, I'm not really sure, and then others were shortened. There's a lot of devices. I think the camera person can reach inside, just kind of curl around. So inside that wheel well, you can see there's a low car box. So the low car box is right here for our camera person with our wiring. So this device was just dangling in behind the AC. It's a motherboard and it has cooling fans and a lot of wires. So we just relocated it to that area. You can see there's square tubing down the side. There's going to be, we're going to finish off later with a door panel and an interior panel. So that's all going to be covered up. You're not going to see it, and it's all in behind the tubing. You can see temporarily for now we've got, they're working on all the wiring for our gauges. Looks kind of silly. Some people say, why do you have a chain here? This just gives us the distance that we need to correct all the wiring, the proper location where they're going to go, and then we go to do our testing shortly. We want to make sure that everything is operating the way it should before we do the final assembly of the dashboard face. The dashboard face is going to be upholstered with a black leather, and we're going to give it a, instead of just being the plain fiberglass plate, most of them that you see is just painted same color as the body, and it's just a fiberglass plate, and then they set this inside. We're going to use a high density padding, so we'll upholster it with the padding first, then the black leather, and this in my opinion will really pop coming through the padded dash face. So that's why it's in this present state right now. A lot of people would say, why wouldn't you just go ahead and put the dash in? We want to make sure that everything is set up. So a lot of thought has gone into the laying out of these. So we have our power window switches for driver and passenger side. We have another power switch for our trunk. It's going to be a remote or power trunk. It's going to go up and down. You can see how many wires there are just for our ignition system with key-on accessories. This is a new switch. We had a faulty switch when the car arrived here. And then we have our HVAC system. We have our Ford dial. It's vintage air for heat and air conditioning. And that's all going to be part of the dash. And obviously we got these really nice Dolphin gauges. And we got the 4 gauges plus the speedo run by GPS. And it'll be quite accurate. Then there's brains for the transmission because you got the upgraded, it's a 460 or 480E with overdrive, and there's sensors and solenoids, and that none of that was hooked up, so we have all that to do shortly. We've got our high beam indicator. We've relocated the gas pedal and brake pedal in a more comfortable location. This is all low car stuff, so it's quite nice. And then on the floor here, we have access to the brake master. The hole was a third or a quarter of that size, so we want to make sure that we had proper access if we wanted to through here. So a lot of progress. It doesn't look like a lot, but it's incredible the amount of work it takes to locate all of our relays and sensors, make sure and test things. So we've tested most of the wiring, and there's a little more testing to go to make sure. Small little details. I don't know if the camera person can pick it up. We're going to have our signals for right and left, our little indicators. These are LED. And then we have our high beam, high beam indicator. And then this is part of the low car system. It's an electronic shifter indicator. So this is going to show us reverse, park, and obviously our different gears, forward gears. That's all going to be built in to the front face of the cluster or the dash face. So lots of progress here. It looks kind of messy, but incredible amount of work to wire these properly. We've got lots of accessories in a small little car. So we have electronic shifting, we've got air conditioning, we've got proper ventilation and defrost, we have power windows, we have remote doors, keyless entry and pop-outs for the latches. So lots of accessories, power trunk in the back. So we want to make sure that that's all set up properly. And the last thing I'm going to bore you with is the back part of the car, because we're able to we got our nice tail lights back in. So with the dust here, unfortunately, but you can see hopefully the lighting is better. We've got our fluorescent lights here in the shop. So hopefully you can see the true red and then the nice contrast of the high gloss black frame with the red body. I think it looks pretty smart. So done lots of work with the wiring for the tail lights, and then we've run a wire for a third brake light that's going to be going in the window later. Just overall it's going pretty well. And then we've got the rear fenders. They finally came in. They were on back order for quite some time. They're a fiberglass fender, and they were the full tail style, but we did more of a bobber kind of look. So for those of you familiar with this coupe style, in the movie American Graffiti, there's a yellow car. So what we've done is we've basically come really close to the look of the rear fenders on that car, but obviously being red instead of the yellow car. So we trimmed the front, we trimmed the back. The fenders have been fitted on and off about 4 times to make sure they fit properly. They're doing the body work on the fenders now, so the next few days hopefully we'll get all the body work done on them. We'll get them painted the nice same color and get them installed. A lot of people have mentioned they prefer to have this open-wheeled look. Here in Ontario, it's very, very difficult to get it properly safetied having these tires exposed. And the look for the client, he really wants to have the bobber style rear fenders. So in the next, I would hope less than a week or so, we'll have the fenders ready and installed. But if I just get it out of the way, hopefully you can see the overall look. It's kind of a vision you have at the beginning when you see these cars, and you don't want to introduce too many colors. So you can see you've got your really nice gloss black frame. You've got your fan housing, which is black, and then the nice red, the red body with a few little red accents. So pretty sharp looking. The trunk lid, all the body work has been performed, and it's painted both doors. All the body work is done and painted both sides red. It's all finished red. And once we have more of the interior done and the wiring all in place, then we'll install those panels later. So we'll just come around to the front one more time just to finish off the video with the front look. This is the traditional look that everybody is familiar with, the 32 Ford with a nice little chin, and then you've got your headlights. So it's really coming along quite nice, and our customer's coming back soon from a vacation, so he'll be able to see a lot of progress on this. So I thank you for watching. I'm John from lastchanceautorestore.com.